Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everything Iconic with me, Danny Pellegrino. I'm very excited. We have a special guest here on the show today, Jennifer Esposito, an actor we've all watched in so many incredible projects. But I saw this movie that you wrote and directed and also star in called Fresh Kills, and it really blew me away. I had seen it on your social media. I believe you were talking about it. And so I had it sort of flagged in my mind because I do love the genre. I grew up Italian American. And so I love the genre that this film is set in. And so it was on my radar. And then finally, when it came on demand, I saw it and just truly was blown away. I posted about it. You reached out, and I was so thrilled you reached out because I just thought it was brilliant. And so, Jennifer, first of all, how are you?
I am happy after that intro. I thank you so much. No, it really is it's so special to me to hear that it's reaching people and touching people because, as I've said on my social media a bunch of times, this is a project that's taken me a very long time to get made. No one cared to make it. I mortgaged my house to make it. And still it's like trying out with without big company behind you and marketing. It's tough. It's beyond tough. So to hear people are finding it and loving it, it really means the world to me. So thank you.
Of course, and I think it's going to be something that touches people for a long time. I think people will keep discovering it, and art begets art. I think so many people are going to be inspired by it. And first of all, can you maybe explain to the listeners, if they haven't seen the movie, what it's about? And then I really want to kind of get into the bells and whistles of it.
Sure. So it takes place in a mafia genre, which we've seen a gazillion times, but we've never seen it from the female's point of view, like ever. We can see moments of Sopranos with Edie Falco played brilliantly, but it's not from her point of view. It's from Tony's point of view, and then we see shapes of her, and then Meadow, and any other mafia genre film. We've never seen it completely through the female's point of view, and then the young female. So it's really about these two young women, sisters in this family, learning and discovering who and what their family is about. But really, what I always say, it's about finding a voice in a world that tells you not to have one. And I think why it's hitting so many people, yes, it's about family. Yes, it's about the sister relationship. Yes, it's a father-daughter relationship and a mother-daughter relationship, but it's really about finding that voice when the world tells you to stay down. And I mean, who doesn't feel that way in some capacity at some point in their life, especially now in the world. So I think it's a really universal theme.
So when you were watching some of those other movies or things like The Sopranos, did you always have that inclination in the back of your head? Did you have that voice saying, "Oh, I want to see this from the perspective of a daughter"?
I say that whenever I watch anything.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, where are the real women characters? Where are the well written women characters? Where, and it's not everything, but it's a lot. If you look back even like 5 years, 10 years, everything has been from a male's point of view. Everything is centered around men. And it's like, it's just exhausting. It really is exhausting because trying to see representation of yourself in a real way. And I know this because I've been on the other side playing these characters that don't even have a last name. Like, who is she? What can she talk about something other than her love life? Like it's just so demeaning to women, and it's demeaning to everyone really, because we're just not giving a correct portrayal of the world around us. And I was so tired of hearing myself complain about it and like, demand more and like get in these groups and we discuss how we can change things, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. So instead of complaining, it's like, what's your part in it? What are you going to do about it, Jennifer? So that's when I sat down and said, do something, do something.
Well, and I mentioned I grew up on these stories. I mean, in an Italian American family, I think oftentimes these mob movies really become a part of the fabric of the family. We would watch Sopranos on Sunday nights together with my parents, and The Godfather, and anything sort of related in the genre. And I always am gravitating towards female stories, and I think a lot of gay men tend to do that as well. But I would watch these things and I would just be so fascinated by the women in these projects. And I'd be looking at them and they're saying so much without saying anything because the script is centered on the male characters. And I'm like, oh my God, what is she thinking over there? What's Jamie Lynn Sigler thinking in the scene? Or I don't
Exactly.
know. There's so much that they're living through this life. And so I was so fascinated to watch these two daughters in your film, the journey they take. And it was just so incredible seeing it from their perspective.
Thank you.
Were there parts of the genre that you were focusing on deconstructing as you were writing the project? Like maybe even very specifically, like were there certain types of scenes that you've seen in all of these projects that are like, let me do that in my way?
Yeah. I mean, the whole genre.
Yeah.
Like you said, we would see, a woman come in and lay pastries or bring drinks, and we see the guys at the table, and we see the woman's hand come in, or the woman in the back who's on the pole and she's naked and she's dancing. Or, this victimized woman. But we've never really then gone with them. We've stayed with the men at the table talking shop or whatever the hell they're talking about. And I just thought, I want to see that tableau. I want to see that tableau, but I want to see who's watching them. So there's a point in the movie when they're at a wedding, and the dad is at a table with all the guys. But we see who's watching that table, and it's the daughter. And we stay with her, and we feel what it's like to see your father in that capacity, the way we've all seen, and the way, to be honest, as an Italian American, to see our culture constantly portrayed as mafia is really hurtful. And the women not saying anything about it, just screaming and then like thrown into a closet, or like, hit sometimes, or just victimized, or in a kitchen, and it was like, I grew up around some girls like this, and they had things to say. And being an Italian American, I have things to say. And, people have looked at me like, well, if you feel that way, why would you go into the genre and make another movie like this? And it's like, because we haven't seen this genre correct yet.
Mm-hmm.
When we can see Italian American women in this capacity in a correct way, give them voice, make people understand that this isn't a world to be glamorized. There are victims here. They're not these victims laying on the floor. They're caught in a space. And until we do that correctly, you can't move on. So, yeah.
Right. We have to see the other aspects to this genre.
Exactly.
You mentioned you mortgaged your home and financed this yourself, or I think a lot of it yourself. And can you explain a little bit about that process? I was so inspired by that, and I found that story just so compelling.
Thank you. It's not something I set out to do. It's not something I wanted to do. I was just so tired of hearing who I should be in this business, what I have to be. I was tired of hearing, as an actor, you have to wait to get a job so you can create. And it's like, and then the things I was creating, I was like, what am I doing? And I just got so tired of the bullshit, to be quite honest. And people reading the script when they read the script, because it was like, oh, who wrote it? She wrote it, that girl, like that we placed so neatly in this box. And it was just like, I am so tired. I'm not waiting for anybody else to give me permission to exist. I will not do it anymore. I'm not waiting on you to call me. I'm not waiting on you to figure it out. And I realized too, to stop being angry about that, no one owes me anything. If you are waiting for anyone to call you and give you an opportunity, waiting on someone to love you, waiting on someone to care about your dream, it's not happening. It's not happening, and it doesn't have to. And that was a really big wake-up call. And it was like when I realized to stop being angry about that, that nobody owed me a damn thing. No one, had the same dream as me. And no one was going to trust that I knew what I was capable of doing. They had no idea I could. And so I really had to look at myself and say, well, can you? If you can, then do it. And, I had a few investors come along with some small money, good money. I was very, very grateful, but it wasn't going to take us over the top. So I think the last straw was when, I was offered like $5 million to place a big name lead male in the role of Joe. And that would have given him a lot of money payday, and it would have given my girls who are carrying the film on their back scale. And I just thought, I can't do this. And I knew no guy that meant money was going to come along and do this. And I just thought, I can't do this. I don't want to play in this pond. Like, I just don't want to do this. So I thought, what can I do? So we tried to sell, we did NFTs, we did, and I still think blockchain, when people really understand the blockchain and how it could really work to like bypass the gatekeepers and fund each other's projects, it's something that's could be really amazing in the future. We tried that. We tried, I sold t-shirts. I sold anything in my closet that had like a label on it. I was at the real, like, hey, here's my clothes. Take them all, sell them, like anything I could do. And then it got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm going to take a mortgage out of my house. And then I was pushed even further to just keep going down the road of investing my own money. Like I said, it wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do. But then at the end of the day, I thought, at the end of your life, are you going to be really happy that your house is paid? Or are you going to be really happy that you did something that you knew you could do, and everybody told you not to, and everybody told you you couldn't? And the amount of people betting on me was maybe 4. And it was like, okay, I'm going to be more happy at the end of my life that I can say I did it, or at least I tried.
Oh, you fucking did it. You did it. It was, Jennifer, it's so fucking, you must be so proud. Like it, I don't know. I was so moved by it. I just thought,
Thank
how
you.
fucking badass that you did this. You got the money, you put it together, and then it turned out again, like, I don't know, I'm an artist too. And I just feel like art begets art. Like other people, I'm a writer, and there's so many things I'm watching. I'm like, oh my God, that inspires me to do that. And it's like, that's going to make it live on forever and ever and ever. And so I don't know. I just must be proud.
I appreciate, and I really do mean that, Danny, because I tell you, it gets very difficult in this business to keep going, especially against the tide. And it really means so much to me to hear that. And I hear it. And I hear the amount of people writing me, it's a masterpiece, you should be nominated, blah, 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 all the wonderful things. But what I said to someone yesterday, it's very difficult to take laps around the ring when you're still fighting. And I'm still fighting to get this movie out there because, yes, I did do it. And yes, I'm very proud. But at the end of the day, I'm an artist who wants to now speak about the work. And the amount of people, that's why when you wrote to me and I was like, can I come on your show? The amount of people that have still pushed me aside, still called me that actress on that show, still will not review us, still won't have me on their big shows. When I've been in this industry for 20 something years, it's infuriating because the work now is there. It's there. I didn't ask any of you for the money. I'm doing this on my own, but now it's there and it's still being buried. And it's like, that's infuriating because as I just wrote someone just before I got on here, she was like, you have to be nominated. The girls need to be nominated. Odessa Zion and Emily Bader, who are extraordinary actors
So good.
in the film. And Annabella Sciorra and Dominic Lombardozzi, like everyone is just at their peak. And yes, I agree they should be recognized, but I had to write this woman and say, for me in this film to get nominations, though no one understands, that's a marketing budget of like $100,000 at least to make people see it that are voting. It's just very infuriating. It's very infuriating.
Well, and like you mentioned, there is this. You have the proof of everything here. You've created the film, and you mentioned reviews and struggling to maybe get other people to review it, but the reviews that have come out for it are all glowing. The audience reviews are glowing. Yeah. So I want people to know, like, this isn't. People who are seeing it are obsessed with. They're like me. They're seeing it and they're feeling like they want to root for this picture. And so we just need to get some of these bigger outlets and stuff to write about and talk about this film. I think I had also seen before I'd seen on your social media, I think Daily Beast did a great piece on it. And it was seeing something like that is enough sometimes to get someone to be like, oh, maybe I should check this out.
Well, that's the thing. Daily Beast. I mean, we've had huge reviewers. Roger Ebert, a platform, and like some really huge. We have a 91 from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 96 from audience. If you look at any of the movies that were nominated last year, I think maybe one of them has even close to that review from the people and from the critics. So we have absolutely, but what I'm saying is the amount of people that disregarded us and pushed us aside, and even the Daily Beast, literally the headline read, "The best mafia movie I've seen in ages," and that is, I am so grateful. But if you read it, I first had to be knocked down a few pegs because it said, I didn't expect anything going into this because this is a actress on a cop show. And it was like, that you didn't need to say that. Even if you felt that way, you didn't need to say that. It just proves my point, how I was even told, like, when we had been in the film festival circuit for a year and we weren't getting picked up to be bought. And it was like, what is happening? Like, people love this film. We're winning awards. And it was like, well, we don't know how to market it because there's no stars. People want to see things with stars. And is it about a family? It's not really mafia because it's women. It was just like, people want good story. That's it. That's it. And the fact that no stars, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Honestly, I think if I would have had such a huge, well-known person, I don't think it would have done well. I think it was the right thing to cast. And these two young women, I mean, Emily now is the star of My Lady Jane on Amazon. Odessa has been working and is. These girls are going to be enormous.
Yeah, they're so good. They're so good. Jennifer, though, I want to mention you're also incredible in the film. You play the matriarch of the family, and I think you get to play so many great emotions in that role. Like, it's such a juicy role, and I wondered if you were able to kind of take that in because you were also directing it. Talk to me about the acting part of things. Okay.
It's so funny because when people bring up the fact that I was in it, it's like not even, I don't even know. I swear. And because, and I have to say, everything that I've ever done, I always see a piece of me. I see, it's like, oh, that's me, whatever. This, I don't even recognize myself in it. It's very strange. It's, the character is based on someone I know, and I see her in a really big way. It's almost scary because I don't see me at all, but also because this has been such a project that I've been like looking over that I don't feel like I'm in it. It's very strange. So it really is when people say, and you're working this, I'm like, what? It's, oh, right, I'm in it. I play the mom. It's odd to me, to be honest.
I saw so many women that I sort of grew up around in your character. And yeah. Okay. So I want to get into some spoiler territory. So anyone who's listening, either turn this off, maybe pause it and then come back to it. But I couldn't talk to you without asking some of these more spoilery questions. So pause this, come back to us after you watch the film, or whenever you've watched it, and let's get into it. Okay, so the daughter Connie.
I felt like it had to be representation of what I saw growing up. It had to be, things had to be brutal. Things were brutal in the places that and the things that I saw. So things needed to be authentic. So and also Rose needed to grow. And I don't know if she would have. So the goal was always for Rose to grow. And I needed for her to do so, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I saw Rose sort of battling within herself about whose fault it was that she was in this life. And there were sometimes, like after Connie's death, she gets in the car, bloody, and she seems like she wants to run away, but then ultimately stops herself. And it seemed to me like she gets mad that she's maybe not strong enough to kind of go even further. And even when she's talking with her father at the end in that incredible scene, she's telling him sort of it's his fault. But even in her eyes, I was kind of reading it like she was feeling like saying it to him, but realizing like it's also sort of her fault for not getting out yet. Where do you stand on that? And do you think, where do you stand on that? Does that make sense?
Say I think the question is like, look, in this world and that I created, you got to remember none of these women had tools. Nobody had any learning lessons of how to be independent of this world. Nobody. And that's something that, again, I think a lot of us can relate to, because we can only grow in when we're born into a family, we can only learn as much as the people around us know. So it's up to you to go beyond your family. And that's not a very easy thing to do for a lot of people. So these women can only grow as much as they're allowed to in the surroundings that they're in. And these women weren't allowed to do so. They weren't given the tools. And Christine really wanted to be something better and something more for her niece, but there were no tools. There were no tools. Yeah. So I don't think you can fault, I think, listen, I know how many people do we know that complain about the same things all the time? And I'll say myself, but you don't know what you don't know. And you could hope for more and want to be better, but until you really are ready to step outside the world that is very comfortable and very familiar, you're not gonna be able to grow and learn. Yeah. So I don't fault anybody who stays stuck in a moment. It's not easy to change. Right. Definitely.
I loved watching the parallels between the Francine character and, of course, the daughter. I just thought, and generationally, I think things can change as generations go on. And so I found that so fascinating to see your character and Francine kind of contrasting with the two daughters. Just in the story, your character being scouted, it felt so real and so heartbreaking when we find out. Like, that to me was such a small moment, but it said everything, I thought. Like, your character saying, telling the daughters that she was scouted to be a model, and then later we find out the story wasn't exactly how it was told, and it broke my heart fucking wide open, and it's so small. It just felt so real. Was that based on anything or something?
So small, but so big, because it was like, you got to think about it. If mom could tell a story like that and be so in it, she was, again, this comes back to the tools. She doesn't know how to tell her daughter to want more. So how sad is that she has to lie or tell it the way she sees it so that maybe it would help her daughter move on or dream big. And that's really sad. So when dad clips that story, it's just it's an indication of like she really just again didn't have the tools, and he just ended that dream.
Mm-hmm.
He just ended that, and it was like, and it's also a moment of like, you see how trapped they really are.
Mm-hmm.
Like even a dream that wasn't even a big deal, which was a huge deal to her, but he had to clip it. I used to see I used to see a lot of that within my own family. You know, people really, I think everybody has it that maybe has lost their dreams at some point. They stay very hooked in the moment of when one event maybe happens, and they stay in that space, and they tell it a lot and dream about it a lot, and the story all of a sudden is different 5 different times. And I find that very sad. I actually witnessed that with a few people in my life growing up, and I always thought, wow, that's very sad that that's the one thing you have to hold on to, and it was so long ago. And I just find that very, very, very sad.
Yeah. I thought it was such brilliant writing too, because it was almost something that barely registered when she first tells the story. And then I think that maybe is why it packed such emotional punch for me, because it just was like, oh wait, it was unexpected and so relatably sad.
Yep.
Do you think at the end of the movie, the daughter, we see Rose leaving, what in your mind, I don't know if you have any answers to this, but maybe in your brain, what happens next? Does she stay gone for good?
The amount of people that have asked me, like, what happens? What happens next? Can there be a sequel? And, I had another ending that I didn't get to film, unfortunately. But it worked out beautifully. I personally love movies that don't tie up packages. Like because that's not life. Like that, to me, the movies that I enjoy, I want to witness something that that is human. And to me, our human experience and our relationships with anybody and everybody, nothing's ever finished in a complete bow and like you get closure and like, so I just don't gravitate towards movies like that. And especially something like this, I thought there's no way that like happy, everything works out, and that's the beauty of art. It's up for interpretation. Like, what do you think happens? Like, what do you think? You can go 2 ways. Like, oh, amazing. She's spoken for herself, or well, she has no tools. And that's the beauty of art, I feel, is like, you walk away. The amount of people that when I do these watch parties, or I've been in numerous screenings, and the amount of people who cannot talk after the movie, like they just can't talk. They're like, I just need to be here for a minute. I can't really talk about it yet because it needs to be digested. To me, that is a sign of a good movie, is when you just need to sit with it for a second, and let it digest.
Yeah. I purchased the movie because it's available to purchase on, I think I was Prime where I got it. And I watched it, and then I kept thinking about it too. And a couple hours later went back and watched the scene between the dad and Rose at the end. And I felt like, the 2 times I watched it, I was watching it for different things. The first time I was watching this, her acting was so brilliant in it. And she's confessing and she's saying, you're at fault for my life. And then the second time I was watching the dad, played by, I think his name is Dominic,
Dominic
right?
yeah.
And I was so fascinated by him in that scene and how he was just listening and taking it in. And I was fascinated by what he wasn't saying. And I was thinking, well, wait, did he have a shift when he was away where he realized he put these women in danger and maybe that's why he's not combating back to her? Or is he
Mhm.
just finding this out for the first time as she's saying it and it's sort of hitting him like a ton of bricks? But I thought it was played so great because, yeah, you can take something different from watching either one of them. And it did make me sort of want to watch it again and again. And I even feel like if I were to watch the movie again, I might see something completely different for all of the scenes. But that one in particular just struck me when I rewatched.
100%. I really do mean this. I've obviously watched the movie a bazillion times. Um, and I always find something different in the performances from these actors because they're so present. But the amounts of people that watch this all the time has been many because there is so much that you are finding these little things and that turn out to be big things and like really watching it from different perspectives and it's just amazing to me how we can all walk away watching the same thing and all come away with different things, and that's the beauty of art. It's because you're taking away because you're relating to something completely different than I am and coming to it from your perspective and then to be able to have a conversation about it. So yeah, I always suggest to people to watch it at least 3 times
Yeah.
because it really changes each time.
I want to go back to something you said a bit ago, mentioning people wanting to know what happens next. Like, is there a world where you would want to continue on with these characters?
I love these characters. I've known these characters, God, for 15, 16 years, even more. Um, I think it would be a great TV series. I really do. I would love that. I'm actually working on something it's similar with one of the woman that created Mob Wives. We grew up around each other, and
I loved Mob Wives, Jennifer. Loved it. I'm a
I
reality TV
around
junkie.
those girls. The woman that created it, she's a really smart woman, and she came to see Fresh Kills, and she was I really I was scared, honestly, because I used to be petrified of those girls growing up, and she came to the premiere at Tribeca, and she came over to me and she said, "You really nailed it," and that really meant a lot to me.
Was it one of the cast members? Was it?
It was the creator of the show,
Okay. Okay.
Jennifer, and it really meant a lot to me. And then she said, I have this idea. We should talk, and we started chatting, and she knows the world in a way I don't. And I know another side from seeing it from a different perspective. So between the two of us, let's hope we have a show eventually.
I love that. I mean, it's so ripe for a TV series. Like, I would love to just be able to be with these people in a longer period of time because in a movie, you only get so much.
Absolutely. And there's so much there. Like we had Sopranos for so many years, but like, what about the women? What about the women and the young people in these neighborhoods? It's a tricky place to grow up.
Yeah. Jennifer, I know I don't have much more time with you, but I want to ask about a couple other projects of yours. One that's like really near and dear to my heart, and I don't know how you feel about this movie, but I Still Know What You Did Last Summer came out when just at a very impactful age for me. I had the poster on my wall. I loved those movies. I just rewatched it over July 4th weekend because they're sort of July 4th movies. But is there anything that you could tell me? I had read that originally I think your character was supposed to live. You play Nancy in it, and Brandy's character was supposed to die, and maybe there was a shift. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
I don't know when that came in the process. Maybe it was like earlier in the writing. But anyway, is there anything you could tell me about the process of working on that movie or anything that sticks out to you with that film?
Oh my God, that was crazy. I remember, being a kid and wanting to act, and I can't say like, oh, it's a horror movie. Like that was the thing. I was studied like, when Lee Strasberg studied method acting. And then, this was one of my earlier jobs. And, but the exciting things about going and we're going to shoot in Mexico. We're going to be like, oh my God, like I'm living the life. Meanwhile, I get there and it's like, oh my God, I remember counting me and the Teamsters. It was 98 turns up a hill to get to that hotel, this abandoned hotel, 98 turns. So like people would get out and puke and get back in the van and go up, and then you'd film. And I learned this as well. When the script reads that in 30 pages or 40 pages, you're soaking wet and you're running throughout the night, guess what that means? That means you're going to be soaking wet for 3 weeks, running all night shoots. They used to take my wardrobe, my costume out of a bucket.
Oh my God.
And we get caught in the rain and give it to me. And I had to put this on and stay like that. And then they'd spray me down with, I was like, what kind of fresh hell is this? It was, I was excited. I was a kid, but still it was like, this is nuts. And, all night shoots, and you only can be in your 20s and do something like that. Cause now I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. But it to do something like that and to see the way it all works and is, it's fun. I was a kid. It was fun. And I love that you loved it. That's awesome.
I mean, I think it's always like a dream, I think, to be like a scream queen, to have, I think as an actor, it'd be so fun to be able to have that scene where, the monster or whatever kills you off.
Yeah.
I interviewed Jennifer Love Hewitt a while back, and I think she had told me that weren't there a lot of bugs maybe or something too? It was like wet and bugs.
Because think about it, we were in like, I don't even know where we were. We're on this hill. We're in the middle of all the trees, and there were bugs. A crab tried to get a crab. I woke up with a crab. I was in my room. I woke up in the middle of the night with a crab nestled in my hair.
That's the worst.
My hair, it makes sense. It nestled in my hair, and then bats fly at your head in the middle of the night. Like it was crazy. That's why, like I said, you got to be 20 something and be like, yeah, this is great.
Your character had all the fun lines in that too. I think you say everyone's a fucking singer. I feel like you got all the good lines. Whenever I would watch movies as a teen, I'm like, oh, that's the acting part I would want. Like, I want the funny one who gets to say these like really juicy lines.
I was like the sarcastic bartender, Nancy.
We love Nancy.
Yeah.
They're doing another one too. It was announced they're doing like
Are they?
Yeah, they're doing. You did Somewhere. Was it Somewhere in Queens? Ray Romano's directorial debut. Was that before Fresh Kills?
Yes. Okay. And I was in the midst of Fresh Kills, but I really wanted to be on set. I loved his film, and I loved that he was doing this, and I really wanted to see, how an actor took this on. I really wanted to witness and like be a fly on the wall and watch what he was doing. And it was great for that. I know he was nervous, but we definitely had a different experience. We were like moving like lightning. We had to. We filmed Fresh Kills in 21 days.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And what's really mind blowing is that you got the movie you got in that short amount of time. It's like, it blows my mind. So was there a specific thing that you learned, like watching him maybe direct and act in the project? Was there anything that you were like, I want to do that with mine, or I don't want to do that with mine during that process?
Like I said, he had time. So he would go, and after he would do his stuff, and he would go to the monitor and watch and take his time. And great. We did not have that. So someone would give me like a monitor, like a phone, and I'd still be at the table, say, doing the role of Francine. And we would finish, I'd say cut, they'd give me the monitor just to check that, like, oh, you're in the right position, go. Like, it was so quick. Or I'd have like one of my producers at the camera, at the monitor being like, I think so. But as an actor, as long as the camera was like, we got the shot I needed, as an actor, I knew if I hit what I needed to hit. So that was good. But I can't say anyone got more than 3 takes at best.
Yeah.
At best. That last scene with Rose, I think she did that in 1.
That's fucking crazy, Jennifer. That scene, that's crazy. That's wild.
No, it was one of those things. I had worked with her previously for like a month or 2, and we just kept going at who this person was to her and all this stuff. So it was like a slingshot. Like we kept that for like one of the last days, and I kept like just pulling her back to the point when she was ready to let loose. She just, so yeah.
Okay, a couple other credits. Crash won Best Picture the year it was released, and it was really everywhere. Is there a memory that sticks out in your mind, either from filming or sort of that aftermath of that, all that award stuff and everything?
It was amazing. I loved doing that. It's so sad that my mind goes to something negative. I don't want to be that person, because it was amazing.
What was the negative?
That when it got nominated, I wasn't invited to the Oscars.
What?
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Why? Was it just
fine? Well, I wasn't big and famous. It was really sad. It was really, and a few of the other people that weren't big and famous, they like bought tickets to sit in the bleachers. And I remember a manager saying to me, doesn't matter. The show is so boring. It's not going to win anyway. And then I was in a car on the way to an after party, and we heard it won on the radio, and I was devastated. I was like, really? Like, nobody could fight for me to get a ticket? First of all, I shouldn't have to fight to get a ticket. This happened recently it was a young woman that she was in one of the movies, and she didn't get invited, but because social media, she went out and started to talk about it, and they wound up putting her as a presenter. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's all about big and famous. And there were a lot of top models at the Oscars that year. And I was just like, wow, this is deep. Okay.
And you have a very prominent role in that film. So it's shocking.
I am one of I have my SAG award from being one of the ensemble cast, and then I wasn't given a seat.
That's terrible. You were on Watch What Happens Live recently, and Andy Cohen said he like had approached you about being on Housewives, or like tried to get you on Housewives. What can you tell me about that?
I love all of those shows, like all of them. And people be like, really? My husband comes in and he's like, are you seriously? Because I will talk about art. I will talk about the writing. I will be reading my books. I will, be picking apart the most beautiful movies. And then I'm sitting there inhaling Bravo. And he's like, what is happening? I said, you don't understand. This is like ice cream. Like, you don't need to be hungry for ice cream. You just eat ice cream. Like, you don't ask why. You just eat the ice cream. So to me, it's like when you get the mind freeze from eating the ice cream too fast, your mind freezes. You feel like you're in bliss for 2 seconds. And I watch this and just go, this is fantastic. To me, it's character study. It's human behavior. It's so ridiculous. So, and back
Jennifer, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but also, where else on TV, unfortunately, do we see women above 40 dealing with death, work, friendships? Like, there are I know everyone kind of focuses on the drama, and of course, there can be issues with that. But I do think that it goes underreported that this is unfortunately one of the few places we see women dealing with their kids leaving the home, and divorces and all sorts of stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people watch these shows, but I he did. So back then, I had left the business for a while, and I had opened a bakery, and it was really important to me because I had been struggling with health for a very long time, got diagnosed with celiac disease, and again with my need to like change and do stuff, and I created all these recipes and wrote a book, realized that people really didn't know about this disease. And I thought, this is bullshit. Why don't people, and the gaslighting I had in the medical community for so fucking long, that I wrote a book about it. I opened this bakery, and he had approached me during that time. And I thought, what a great opportunity to get this out there. And so I did. I spoke to Andy about being on. I don't know if I'd be the right person to be on the shows because the cattiness of it, like some of that, not that person. I tell everyone to fuck off, and like
But that'd be fun to watch too, Jennifer.
to tell everyone to fuck off. Like there's no time for this. Like women should be helping each other. But that being said, you know, I watch them. I watch the shows. Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm sorry, but the old New York Housewives,
best.
This new group, God bless, it's not my thing. Everybody seems really poised now. So Sonia was not poised. Sonia was batshit crazy, as is Ramona and Luann, and all. They were just fabulous to watch. Like so ridiculous and inappropriate and silly and like. So you just go, what's happening right now? What just happened? I loved that. I loved
they were broad. My grandma used to call those kind of like bombastic women broads, like in a complimentary way. It was like the old New York women to me they're broads in the best way.
Yeah. And just insane, like completely insane. And like, you know, it's just not the same with like influencer culture of like, it's just a different thing. It was just a different thing. So I really did love the old New York Housewives and the older Beverly Hills. Yeah, I think the shows now, unfortunately, the housewife shows have gotten, like I said, very polished. People know that, like, you know, they're like, oh, you see my new flowers. They're on flower.com. And you're just
I'm selling them now.
Now everything's about selling everything, but you know, Vanderpump Rules, that could take you down for a couple of hours and you sit there and like, what just happened with my afternoon? And you're watching Vanderpump Rules and then it's Summer House and you know, but honestly, it makes my brain stop. My brain never stops. I'm constantly, what am I writing? Have to do this. I'm going to do, and I'm constantly like, what projects? My brain goes on to that, and it's like birds are singing. I'm just watching Lindsay and Carl break up. Like it's so strange. I got to meet Captain Sandy too, by the way. When I was
okay, wait, hold on though. Whose side were you on the Carl and Lindsay of it all?
You know, I've gone back and forth so many times. When they got engaged, I was like, he's lost his mind. Like he has gone crazy because I thought Lindsay was just a lot. But then, to her credit, she kept saying he knew who I was, and she's correct. So
she's always been that person.
He's always been that person. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Can you be softer with me?" It's like, do you know her? No. And honestly, and I know they sign up to put their lives on the line, and I get that, but I don't know. Telling someone you don't want to marry them, kind of on camera, I thought that was really harsh.
Right. I feel the same way. I think like we want to see their lives and stuff, but in a marriage or engagement or something like that, like if my partner did that, done. But there's no way. I mean, like that's discussed. There's certain conversations I'd be like with my partner. No.
Yeah.
Not doing
and I gotta say, I've known guys like Carl, especially recovery people who are like, presenting to be such a good, I'm so good. Meanwhile, there's some stuff going on underneath that no one sees unless you're in relationships with them. So yeah,
Snakes are in the grass. You got to cut the lawn.
exactly. It's like it's unfortunate because they do sign up to put their lives out there, but I think you go to a certain point and it's like, I think that was harsh. I think that was, yeah.
Captain Sandy was nice. Was she nice?
I can't even. We text each other. That's all I have to say. I love Captain Sandy. Like she's just awesome. Like she's like the voice of reason to me. Like she's like, look, this Captain Sandy, if Captain Sandy's there, I can watch this. This makes total sense now. Now she was awesome. So I was so happy when they said she's your like person you're going on the show with. I was just like, yes, this makes sense to me. And seriously, she texted me the other day that said that she watched the movie and she was just blown away. And what could she do? She was going to post about it. She's just lovely. Really, really nice person. Yeah.
We need to get I feel like the Jersey gals would love Fresh Kills. Dorinda would love Fresh Kills. We got to get
Dorinda
would love.
Dorinda was fantastic. I love Dorinda. And the Jersey, I used to watch Jersey all the time. I have to say, Teresa, I'll shut up. It's too much now. It's so.
I get sad about the family. Like I don't want them to pretend anymore, Melissa and Teresa, that they're friends, but also it does make me so sad to think that this family is torn apart. It's depressing.
Yes and no. And if it goes back to Fresh Kills, I mean, sometimes your family is just not the best for you. And I think that's okay to walk away and say, this is maybe just not the best for me. I think that's okay. Yeah. But yeah, I think, again, Jersey, depicting Italians in a certain way. And it makes me a little upset. But, I just think to me, it gets too much. But I did love when like the Manzos were on at one point. Oh my God. I will never forget when Caroline said, let me tell you something about my
family. Yeah.
My family.
So good.
Like when I remember when that went down, I was like, what? When I saw that Dina Manzo follows me, I think I literally took a beat. I was like, wait a minute. What? I was very excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I love these women. Okay. I know I got to let you go. But I ask all of my guests these next two questions. Your favorite Mariah Carey song. And then also if you were choosing for People Magazine, Sexiest Man Alive, who would you choose? And you can't choose your husband, although very sexy.
Okay. First, Mariah Carey song. What's the Christmas song she sings?
All I Want for Christmas.
That's the
Classic.
one.
Yeah.
Classic. And Sexiest Man Alive, People Magazine. Oh, Jesus.
It could even be like a childhood crush one, like someone,
Oh, God. Oh God, Sexiest Man Alive. It's so sad that I don't even, you know who I go to?
Yeah.
I go to, it's to she.
We can go to she.
What's her name? She's huge. She's got a great mullet right now.
I don't know.
She's huge. She did the vampire stuff and now
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart is the sexiest man alive.
I love that answer.
That's my vote.
I love that. Well, Jennifer, I want to encourage everyone to see your movie. It's, again, where can people find it? And also seek it out. Like I'm not, this was just sort of came about organically because I really did see this movie and I was blown away by it. And so I hope everyone searches it out, tell a friend to search it out. I think especially anyone who kind of grew up with these movies or any, I hate to say any Italian American, but I really think any Italian American will see there's so many little details in it, the rainbow. I mean, there's so many things we could get into, but I think so many people will really be blown away by it. But where can people find it?
Yeah, so right now it's Apple, it's Amazon Prime, it's anywhere you purchase films, and by the end of this month, I think around the 24th, you'll be able to rent it. Right now you have to purchase it. I think it's $14.99, but we were in theaters for 3 weeks, but now by the end of this month, you'll be able to rent it. But like you said, it's about family. It's about family. It's about discovering your voice in a world that tells you not to have one, and the support from the people. And this is why when you wrote me, I was like, I'd love to come on and talk about it. This is our marketing, and I cannot thank the people enough for the way they are coming out for this film. I just want it to get to everyone. So please tell your friends, post about it, review it, go on Letterboxd and Rotten Tomatoes. It really helps us. So I appreciate.
I've already heard from some people who watched it after I was talking about it on social, who went away from it thinking the same thing, of just being like, wow, I want to tell people about this. I want to celebrate this movie. I hope do we know if there will be a streaming future for it? Like,
we hope so. And that's why the better it does,
Yeah.
the more chance. And, who knows, we're going to keep pushing and hopefully get it recognized. And so you never know.
Jennifer, I'm awed by you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I hope you'll keep writing and directing, because I want to see you tackle every genre as well as continue with these characters, because it's just so brilliant. So thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. I appreciate it, really.